everyone, I'm Molly the Kush RN with Conversations with Kush podcast. Disclaimer, the information shared in this podcast is for educational purposes only. It is not intended to be a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. So always consult with a healthcare professional before making any changes to your medical regime. Additionally, any views or opinions expressed by guests on the podcast are their own and do not reflect the views of our podcast or its host. Thank you again for listening. If you would like to be a guest of the show, please reach out to conversationswithkush@gmail.com.
Hey guys, this is producer Gabe. Molly couldn't be here, but we wanted to give you some context for what you're about to listen to. Originally, this wasn't going to be a second episode. It was supposed to be part of the first one, but we went down to the REC Center Dispensary in Rochester, and the original intent is we were going to talk to a lot of the cannabis nurses that were in town and various industry experts, and this was going to be part of that. Well, we sat down with the owner of the REC Center, Matt Little, and his staff, David and Rebecca, and we just had a really great conversation with him. He's a super, super knowledgeable guy. He's obviously got a vision for what he's doing. He's passionate about it. So yeah, we thought it was worth just putting out as its own episode. And we want to thank everybody down at the REC Center Dispensary in Rochester once again. Of course, all the cannabis nurses as well. So enjoy the episode. Thanks for listening. And don't forget to subscribe and share and go to our YouTube channel.
So we are here. Thank you so much to the REC Center for hosting the podcast tonight. It's so incredible. I've never actually just reached out to someone and made an ask and can we do this and tried to do a collaboration. So thank you for opening up your space to us and allowing this troop of people to come through. And this is Matt, David, and Rebecca from the REC Center. And Matt, tell us about the REC Center. How did we get started?
Originally actually it was the CBD centers, and as we started transitioning for more dispensaries, we switched the name. But we started in 2018, did a 40-acre cannabis grow on the hemp side, and then 2019 we did a 650-acre outdoor. And this is actually one of our fields in the background.
It's beautiful.
It was nice, or you could call it hell on earth that year.
Yeah, right?
One of the wettest years we ever had.
Oh, shit.
The hemp market was, falling fast. So, as we built out the extraction facility, prices dropped. Be like water. Be a liquid, be a solid, be a gas, cut steel, or nourish your body. That's one of my mottos. So it was really about, we pivoted into finished good manufacturing and retail. So we have New Canna, we have Heiza Kite, we have Boomers Blends, and then we have the REC Centers. And it's really about, personally I got into it. I'm not a cannabis user per se for effect. I use it for the CBD side for a benefit.
You're a cannabis user.
Yeah.
Yeah, you are.
So that's one of the cool things that I think is changing, and what actually the CBD and the hemp side brought to the marijuana side was, it's not just getting high. It's not just pot. It's not just weed. We always have looked at the benefit versus the effect. I use in CBD, I use it for my back pain. I'm pain free. I also use it for mental health. It's unbelievable, the best thing that's ever happened to me from suicidal thoughts. But it's, thing with CBD, it's not that pill. It's not that pharmaceutical pill that fixes you right away. You have to get on it. You have to stay consistent with it. And if you don't, it's not going to work. We constantly tell people.
And it takes a while to build up, right? It takes
100%.
a few days, yeah.
Yeah, so, in our centers have always been educational centers. We educate people, we sell products to continue that education. And really, I think that's crucial, and why we've made it through COVID, why we've made it through when a lot of the hemp shops, started up and went out of business. A lot of them focused on that short-term cash.
Sure.
And we're a complete vertical. So we grew it, we extract it. I'd love to have you out at our extraction facility.
I would love to see that. I want to come and then.
Yeah, well, wait to see the manufacturing side of it. I mean, we are large scale pharmaceutical, so we actually are one of the only FDA inspected facilities in cannabis.
Okay.
We got inspected because we started doing random clinical trials for sleep. So one of our things was the science of cannabis.
Okay.
And if you're going to tell people that you're the science of cannabis, you better back it up with some data.
Yeah.
So that triggered the FDA audit. It was 2 inspectors for 10 days. It was an intense, but we passed. And so the facility's just top notch. We use a lot of different, we use equipment out of the pharmaceutical, we use equipment out of the nutraceuticals. And just you have to have control because there's a lot of products out there that
Sure.
you don't know what you're putting in your body.
Yeah. I think I always encourage people to know your grower.
Yeah,
so I
for
mean,
sure.
this is 100% knowing your grower, like all the way down to the product that you're gonna pop in your mouth.
Yeah.
So I love that. I actually met John at Lucky Leaf,
Yeah.
and he showed me his big apparatus, and it was
That sounded a little weird, by the way. His
Yeah,
big
maybe.
apparatus. Wow. Okay, I had to throw it in there. I had to throw it in there.
It was amazing.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's so he's so nerdy. I'm sorry,
Yeah,
John.
we all do. We have to tell ourselves at these events, like, we always will give each other looks because sometimes we get too deep into the science, we get
Yeah.
too deep into the, the mechanics of it and
Right.
go, okay, some people want to learn and some people just want to be like, okay,
Yeah.
I trust you.
I love though that you're thinking about it at every step though, and you're able to control it, and you know that when you put your product on the shelf, you're like, I'm proud of that. Like I'm serving the community. Like this
Yeah.
is my best work right here. So I love that.
One of the things that we're kind of campaigning and we have to be the champions of self-regulation. There's some industry, like this industry is very unregulated. It's highly regulated in one side and it's unregulated. I should say it's highly regulated and unenforceable. There's a lot of unenforceable.
Yeah.
And I think, right now we just came out with a study that we did with the beverages on the Minnesota shelves, and 90% of the beverages failed the potency test.
Right.
Like grossly failed them.
But it was because they were lower though, not
Correct.
because they were over. So
Actually, 2 of them were over.
Okay.
You could tell that they were probably pushing the boundary. And so the thing is
well, I wonder if they were overcompensating
They
because
were.
they knew it would,
they know they're going to degrade.
they go down, right?
Correct.
So is there a solution to that?
We're in the midst of it. One solution is make sure that your born-on dates are within 6 months.
Okay.
Yes, there's some what you choose to use for stability or for your shelf life, whether it's ascorbic acid or some of the different those make a big difference in it.
Okay.
So that's one of the things that since we got a full lab in our facility, we spent a ton of money on covering this. We think we got a 9 month stable that I can prove without a doubt. We're heading towards that 12-month, both accelerated and real time.
That's awesome.
So it's it's expensive.
Will you guys ever do testing for other people?
Yeah. So
will you sell that service out kind of?
we're in the process of separating the lab out. It's actually
Smart.
Fenal Labs will be the lab. It's actually getting its 17025 accreditation. So we're separating it out. Eventually, I hope we can actually bring it back under the roof. I'm a big component of we should not allow third-party testing
Why?
because you can manipulate the hell out of it.
Okay. I mean, you can manipulate any testing.
You absolutely. You can send out your best test, get it out there. I can pay 3-4 labs off the top of my head. I can give them $1,000 and get whatever results I want. Michigan just got caught with a bunch of they recalled millions of dollars of products because one lab was passing everybody.
You don't agree with it, but you're proposing that you become one. Is
Is
what Fenal Labs is intended?
It'll be a third party.
Okay.
One of the things that we're trying to work with our lobbyists is, have third party, yes. But if you have the ability to be in-house testing and you can prove that you're 17.25,
Okay.
we're $150,000 into our accreditation.
Yeah, I mean, I've seen the equipment.
You don't. The accreditation to get accredited is not. You're not screwing around.
Okay.
Think of Mayo, like when you get your health. You get blood tests. Mayo's sending that down to the basement to test it because they deal with blood. They are the experts in the blood.
Right.
If you're a lab, one of the things that there's no standardization on labs, so there's no method. All the labs don't have to follow the same method, extraction method, and so one lab might get let's say 15% content. The next one might get 25.
Yeah.
Who's right?
Yeah, I heard that the testing is not always super accurate, so.
If you go through accreditation, you should be allowed to use your own test because you're not spending that kind of money to manipulate the test results.
Okay.
Your batch size is
I hear that argument.
one of the big things I have a problem with a lot of manufacturers is they'll make one batch and then throw thousands of gummies or thousands of drinks underneath it.
Yeah.
and it's like, okay, that doesn't work.
Well, my whole thing is now, like, you can scan a QR code. I'm not going to say who it was, but I scanned one the other day and it just, like, didn't go anywhere.
Yeah, that was one of the number ones.
The hell?
If you scan our products, you'll pull it up and you'll see every batch. Like, we third party test every representation, and then every test, we don't put it in a can, we won't the chocolate bars until the lab QA/QCs it.
Okay, that's awesome. I appreciate that type of work.
It's
I really do.
intensive.
As a cannabis nurse, I think that's really important to us. Testing is really important. And we want patients to be able to, like, look at the COA and be like, yep, this is the one that's going to work for me. It has this much THC. It's got a nice ratio of CBD, or it's a CBD chemovar. You know, it's a type 3. So we want them to be able to look at those COAs and make a decision about what they're going to purchase.
100%. Well, and one of the things you guys mentioned earlier was, like, the low potency, and, like, that's actually. So right now I struggle because we make a lot of low potency. Like, we have a social drink that only has 2 milligrams. Yep. I have a nano gummy that only has 1 milligram. My 90-year-old grandma takes 2 nano gummies every 3 hours. Like, it's dope because you can dose it. I actually am I think D8's an amazing product. I think that the smoke shops ruined the market for people because they pushed it as get high legally. And so everyone thinks that's either diet weed or it doesn't get you high. And it's, instead of looking at it going, it's a body feeling instead of a head high, it's a great cannabinoid. You know, it's a functional cannabinoid. So I hope the industry has to just. The thing that probably pisses me off the most in this industry is this indica versus sativa on gummies.
Sure.
It is such the low, like, bro science that I hate bro science in this space.
Well, as I was speaking to earlier, though, like, the education just isn't out there, and so we are the people that are going to have to do that. Hey, guys, actually, indica and sativa is just a way of classifying how you might feel.
Right.
It's not actually, like, the strain or the chemovar, like I spoke to earlier.
And especially when you get into the food side of things, because, like, you know, you blow all those terpenes apart and you might bring them back, but then when you're talking about the acidity in your stomach, it tears apart. I mean, when you're smelling cannabis, you're smelling the terpenes. It's boiling off at room temperature. Why a lot of times they harvest in the morning when it's cold so that they can have maximum terpene profile. And so, you know, there's got to be a lot more studies, but everything that I've read and studied so far, it's like, you know, when you're consuming cannabis from an edible standpoint, you know, it's not getting the same effects. You know, and I hope that the industry gets smarter than just 2 words, indica or sativa, and look at the whole profile.
Yeah.
And I think it's coming because last year, it was whoever could have the highest cannabinoids. It was all about 30% THC flower, and they were really. And then I think people realized, like, wait a minute, I'm not getting any higher. Like, this isn't what I. So now it's a lot. Like, this year's been on the flower side in a lot of these legal states. It's been outdoor grow. They really like the sun-made, and the full entourage effect, and the full, like, 18 to 23, 24% THC with a really good cannabinoid and terpene profile. They're enjoying that better than last year, where it was all about who could have that big THC number.
Yeah, I tell people all that. You don't have to chase those percentages.
No.
That's not what patients need anyway. No. And it's really, if people are being intentional about the way they use their cannabis, it's maybe not what they need either, you know? So they might be at a high percentage THC, but maybe they could be much lower. Or smoke less. Right. Like, that's always kind of our push. Is like, how can you use cannabis intentionally so that it doesn't become harmful?
Yeah.
Finding that balance, you know?
100%.
Yeah, so.
And I like what a lot of the ladies are saying today is, like, you know, it's how do you have a good relationship with cannabis?
Yep.
You know, you can trade alcohol for cannabis and still have an addiction.
Exactly.
And it'd be a negative effect. You know, how do you use mind, body, soul, other products like psychedelics. We actually had a veteran come in from, I do a lot with veterans.
I saw your book out there. Yeah, tell me about your friend.
So he got blown up in Afghanistan. March 9th is the live day. And I saw him, you know, I didn't know him before he got blown up, so I've only known him as a half a man. He doesn't have any legs and one arm. Him and I give us a lot of crap. He's my test dummy.
Nice.
So we give him a lot, but I saw him through coming back. You know, luckily Southern Minnesota really supports veterans. You know, so a lot of veterans don't have that kind of that family. Like, you know, he got a lot of support from all of us. And, you know, he struggled with alcohol addiction, and, you know, him and his wife were fighting a lot of times. And then, you know, March 9th, I'd always take him to one of my bars, and he'd get obliviated, you know, $300 bar tab and just get crazy. And then introduced him to cannabis probably 4 years ago, and his bar tab's $8, and the next day we're getting up at 8 o'clock in the morning and having a productive day.
Right.
It's just
makes a difference.
Yeah, it's just way better. Like
Yeah.
veterans and police officers and nurses, doctors, these high stress jobs.
Yeah.
It is crazy to me that they can't take cannabis right now. Like, are you effing kidding me?
Me too.
Yeah. So I hope that changes, especially for the police, because
Yeah.
right now, like, they're only out as alcoholism, and I've owned a bar for 21 years, and they abuse it.
Healthcare professionals and helping professionals, they have the highest rates of suicide, divorce,
100%.
early death. I mean, so yeah, there's some research behind that, or some,
It's coming. I look at the parallels of alcohol in the 20s of prohibition, and through that, and you look at everything. So if you're in the space and you're doing cannabis, you should look back into the 20s and see where the alcohol and beer and industry is gone, because the cannabis industry will go that way too.
Exactly.
You're gonna, people hate big business, but America always goes that way. So
I know,
you're gonna,
but we got to be careful too. We got to make sure that the craft farmers and stuff are being taken care of, and like there's an opportunity for them to be able to thrive in this market too. Like, I'm worried about them. Like,
I worry about them. We're still a low guy, as big as we are. We're still consider I can get squashed like a cockroach, as Mr. Wonderful would say. That's one of my fears, and so one of the things was get big enough that you can make a dent that they have to buy you out, or if you're small enough and you want to stay that way, it's like be really efficient, do a really good job. Like, I've had a lot of people come down into our facility, and I said Minnesota is setting the tribes up really well. Like, they got a head start. So understand when you're doing your grow that's who you're competing against, and they've already been in the space and they already got built out, and they're going to get that 18 months where the prices are here. Know that the prices are going to go down to sub $1,000. Don't get mad at it, just get good at it.
yeah.
Like, that's my thing. Don't get mad at it, get good at it. Realize that you're not going to get $3,000 a pound wholesale in 2 years, but guess what, you can pay off your investment really fast. Get good at it, and get efficiency so you can stay in business. So I hope it does stay that, but in order for that to happen, us as consumers have to support that, and a lot of times we don't. Like, we all might hate McDonald's and hate Walmart, but guess what? We shop. Like, the numbers don't lie when they put up billions of dollars of sales every day.
Well, Rebecca spoke to the sales like in Mankato, and like really having that beautiful customer base where you didn't want to change the name right away, because you want to make sure your customers trust you and will still come to you despite making a name change and whatnot. So
Mankato's been our awesome store. That thing's rocked from day one. And a lot, 45 to 65-year-old women, menopause is our best customer. So when you guys brought that up today, I'm like, and they love it's really educating them and talking to them and being like, everybody's different, and experiment with your experience. Those are two words we always use, because it's like, I'm gonna give you a suggestion of what we see, but you've got to try it, and it might not work. Some people get really good sleep off of Delta 9 THC. I always tell, are you sleeping? Are you dreaming? Because if you're not dreaming, you're not going into that REM sleep, you're not getting good sleep. You might want to try a Delta 8 for sleep, because Delta 9's keeping that brain still active.
I feel like Delta 8 is something we would hardly ever recommend as cannabis nurses, but
why is that?
Well, it's an isolate, right? First off, so we're always going to look at full plant medicine first and foremost. Like, that's our main goal, because it works the best that way, when you can get the entourage effect and have all the cannabinoids present. Secondly, I think it's the way it's obtained, I guess. Like, it seems more chemical than its actual plant medicine to me, so.
I wouldn't be afraid of that. I would be afraid of who makes it.
Yeah, we wouldn't, like I said, maybe the other cannabis nurses would agree with me, but I think that it just feels like it's considered more like I don't know.
Well, synthetic. That's what they're going to consider it.
Yeah.
We've got a room that does all chromatography that cleans up every reaction when we do those reactions. I personally like broad spec. Like, so we do separate the THC. I'll keep as much as the plant. All of our products don't use isolates. Like, so like CBD isolates, I don't use that. But for me, I can show a plethora of products, and some of them are full spec with THC, some of them are broad spec without the THC. Delta 8, we sell more sleep gummies that have CBN, Delta 8, and CBD in it than any other product.
Yeah, that's good. I like that.
And it's really about, is it giving you the benefit? because that's what we're all after. And I think there are so many parts to the plant that we don't even understand right now with the 112 different cannabinoids or in the terpene profiles that are changing right now.
Sure.
You know, I totally understand the other side of it. Like, you know, we want the whole plant.
I do know. I'll be perfectly honest with you, though. I do know. I have a friend that uses Delta 8 gummies, and she loves them. She swears by them. So this is my thing. If it's working for you and it's cannabis sourced, I'm all for it. But typically, I think, you know, we just would lean in a different way. But again, everyone has to develop their own relationship with the plant. So
And more studying to know what these cannabinoids are going to do. Because, I mean, you know, you're going to see CBC on the market, CBT. You know, there are THCV. Some of it you can genetically alter to produce it. Some of it gets produced in the process, like distillation will help. Well, you know, high heats and under vacuum will help.
Right.
So there's
or where it's in the curing process, like if you pull it early, that can factor in too.
100%.
Okay, that's all.
So, you know, I look at it as whole. You know, the whole plant or parts of the plant. I look at there's a blend between some. You know, we all hate modern. You know, we all say we hate pharmaceuticals, but there's some positives that come out of pharmaceuticals too.
Yeah.
You know, so understanding which ones, you know, I was not a COVID vaccine kind of person. I chose not to opt in any of that because I just didn't believe in their science.
Yeah. You're lucky you could.
Yeah, like 100%. I feel like the companies that force people, like, that was wrong.
Yeah.
But there are, you know, so as much as like I don't typically, I got to have something broke sticking out of me to go to the doctor. So you know, and then thank God I was, you know, sober when I had my back surgery because they, you know, gave me oxy, and I'm sure if I wasn't in that journey, I would have got hooked in a heartbeat. My sister has a friend that did, and she got to go to heroin because she got hooked. Just like, you know, it was crazy.
If you were to have like another surgery or something like that, then would you opt for cannabis versus maybe going to an opioid?
I won't take an opiate. Absolutely not.
Okay.
Like zero chance me ever taking an opiate.
Okay.
I'll either deal with the pain or take cannabis.
Okay.
And if the pain got too much, the CBD wouldn't work. I would opt for THC because I think I have enough. After 13 years, I have enough control.
Sure.
I was a zero to hero kind of guy. Like there was no in between for me.
Some people are like that.
Right.
Yeah.
You know. So yeah, there's like absolutely zero chance I would take an opiate.
Okay. Good.
But you know, and just, you know, I got a 2-year-old son, and we gave him some, you know, the vaccines that I believe have you know, after 50 years they've worked, like, and they've proven them. But after that, it's like we're done. You know, I believe in this science and I believe the pharmacy. But after that, it's like, okay, why is he taking all these shots? I mean, they're trying to give him a COVID shot at 2 years old.
Yeah. David, do you have a relationship with cannabis?
For a very long time. I started really young. It was a party drug back when I was in high school. You know, back before they had this big industry with pieces and stuff, and we'd smoke out of apples or cans, you know, the old school ways. And, you know, I've experimented a little bit with growing myself, and, you know, the process that it's taken over the years, it's just incredible how far we've come. And I can't wait to see how far we go with it. Because now there's a plant that was incredible to see. I've never seen anything like that. It blew my mind to see it, and to have Keith walk me around and explain everything. It was just all new to me, and it was beautiful to see, and I'm glad to be a part of it.
How do you use cannabis on a daily basis?
I typically stick with the CBD. You know, I have a lot of things going on in my life that, you know, I don't want to use any substances other than CBD. You know, the tinctures, the gummies, the sleep aids. I've been using the Zenergy gummies. And I tried the Zenergy drink. It's pretty good. So I'm finding use in the CBD, which I'd never backed before. You know, I always was, let's get high. I want to feel the effects of that, the body high, the head high. And now I've been opened up to all the different benefits that CBD can offer, and it works.
100%. And
there's a big market for the people that used to smoke in high school or college that stopped because they you know, they had to grow up, I guess is what they tell us, and now they're coming back to it going, wait a minute here, this is not what I remembered.
And it
Exactly.
should be like a vitamin. Like if we can heal our endocannabinoid system on like a super basic level with just CBD, it's non-euphoric. I think a lot of people are worried about feeling that high, especially like the older population too, as like your grannies and stuff start using, popping gummies. Like they don't want to feel high, but they want to be relaxed, or you know what I mean? Or it like helps with their arthritis. I know Rebecca talked about earlier today. Yeah, tell me more about that.
So with like my whole experience with cannabis, we'll say, right, where we for sure, for me, for example, I was very much like, okay, I've got ADHD, I want to try it out for that. So I tried it for my ADHD. Matt gave me the great water, I believe, and it honestly helped me a lot. Like it worked a lot better because I had taken Adderall when I was in high school, and it of course works like it does, but I didn't really have a choice. Where they just kind of said, here, take that, that's going to help you, right?
Here's your pill, I'll go sit in class and listen.
And just do your homework, and that'll be the end of it. And then by like 3 p.m., I'd get this horrible crash, and then I'd just be out for the night. And then I was talking to Maria, and I was talking to Matt, and I was like, this is kind of what my issues are, and I hate the crash that I feel, and I hate this, and I hate that. And so with that being said, they're like, here, try this one. It's this and this. It's got the CBD that's gonna help you kind of mellow down and kind of really get you going onto what you need to get done. And I was like, okay, I don't know. I was like, I don't know. I'm a little skeptic. Like I'm the opposite. I'm very scared. Very like, I don't know how I'll react to everything. So it kind of gets me like a little like this, right? That's why I strive towards making sure somebody feels comfortable in the stores because of that, because I was that customer. I was that person that was like, I'm scared, like I know I am. But I tried it out. I didn't get the crash. If anything, I got like that amazing, slow building kind of like, okay, I got this done, I got that done, okay. And then by the end of the night, I kind of turned to Maria and I was just like, I don't feel crash like I did with my Adderall. I don't feel any negative about it.
Yeah.
And as for my grandma, that's when Matt created the salve, and I was like, you know what, like let me try it out for my grandma. We got her it, and she kind of instantly was just like, what's in here? Why does it work? And she was very much that scared. I don't know what you're doing to me. Like, I don't want to do that. And then we had to explain it to her, like, no, grandma, it's okay. It's just a topical. It's not going to get you any type of emotion, any type of high or anything like that. You'll be fine.
Right.
And I believe 3 years later now, and she still uses it.
That's awesome.
Every month, yeah.
Probably one thing that for us from, the back engine of the company is Midwest Extraction. It's what can we do to create a product for somebody. So, we got Boomer's Blend, which is a fiber essential mushrooms. So we play with the mushroom side of things. John, who you met, has been, a mushroom freak for the psychedelics for years. So, I mean, and then there's other, there's just a whole bunch of other products that can go in that can enhance the cannabis effect.
Absolutely.
I think that's important to understand when you're choosing products too. Like, not just looking at the 10 milligrams, but what else is in there, because there's definitely an effect that they can help, and they all can work together and put you in homeostasis with your endocannabinoid system.
For sure. I think we saw that in the Stash product, the Flow product that Josh brought in today. They've got a mixture of things. So like he had his cold pressed juice, his ashwagandha, his THC Delta 9 and caffeine too. So, people are kind of looking for that experience where they can just really dial into things too. So
For sure.
Yeah.
That's one of our new Canna line's getting all reformulated, so it'll have more benefits.
Yeah.
Like that's the one thing that we're going kind of with that line is more benefits. High as a Kite line that's going after that traditional smoker, has the marijuana leaves in the packaging. And just finding those different, because in the segment there's going to be what speaks to you doesn't speak to me or doesn't speak to David or Rebecca. So finding one of the things that we saw, like when we were at Lucky Leaf, everybody wants to create a brand. Everybody wants to have a product. I'm like, okay, really think this through. Like, you want me to make your product when I'm making product for myself. How are you going to compete against me when I'm your manufacturer?
Yeah.
But now, and I told a lot of people, it's like, there's other people that help co-pack for you, go with them, because we're just not, we're past, we're just a large scale manufacturing company.
Sure.
Unless you have really good distribution, and this is where I really want to hit on for Minnesota, unless you have your niche. like nobody's serving the Hispanic crowd. So my wife is Hispanic, so we created the
Sandy Locust.
Sandy Locust, because Mexican candy is spicy. Like if
Yeah.
a lot of people don't like Mexican candy. Like you either like it or you hate it. There's no in between.
I appreciate that take on it, and we have Veronica Alfaro, though. She has me soda essence, so she made her agua fresca drink. So, and she also has that polverone. So,
Right.
But I appreciate what you're saying. You need to tap into like a certain spot and
be true to yourself. Like
Yeah.
I'm not going to come up with a woman's brand because I'm not a woman. Like
Yeah.
I can come up with products that I niches, but like we have this Asian couple that we're working with right now to help develop a brand because they know their culture, they know their they got distribution into there, and just know your niche and know your group. Nurses, you guys know your groups. Especially my mom. Like I think people underestimate what the value of a woman is in this world, and it is way more than going to be a CEO of some fucking company because she saw and took care of my dad, my grandpa, and my grandma. And through their deaths, and it's like, I don't know how the hell she did that. Like, that was no way would I.
Yeah, we're tough as hell.
Like, yeah.
In case you haven't heard.
She took that on. And I think, I don't know what the next generation is because, my mom's 62. So, I look at the 30-year-old or the 20-year-olds going, are they going to be at home taking care of, 40-year-olds, 50-year-olds right now? I'm like, I don't think so. They ain't got the wherewithal right now. Like, I hope we can get back to some of that culture where you take care of your own.
Do your stores in Mankato here and in Dickeytown, are you all the same people? Or is it like a franchise or how?
No, so we own all those stores.
Okay. So your grow supports all the stores?
Correct. And then we do have some distribution models because in order to be a franchise, you have to, federal disclosure documents, and there's a whole long list of things you can do. So we have one in Alexandria that's a distribution model. Sioux Falls is a distribution model. There's one in Waseca that's a distribution model.
Oh shit! Okay.
Yeah. There's it's and that's
you're kind of a big deal.
We're the state really handcuffed us on. They're trying to stop. Here's the one thing that's really hard right now, is every state eventually goes vertical. You have to gain those efficiencies because the taxes, the licensing, those are all fees. Now 280E will help, huge.
Yeah.
But
we gotta get it to 3 first.
Yeah, it will. Like HHC or HHS is a binding. There's no way that they're not going to do it.
Yeah, you're right. I wish they would deschedule, but.
Yeah, steps though. Like I 100% agree. There's some benefits to Schedule 3. Everybody's worried about pharma. I think some of the growers will actually now be able to protect their genetics.
Okay.
So, right now there's no protection on it.
I heard someone say the other day though, everyone steals genetics, so just give it up.
They do. But you go ask a farmer if they would steal Pioneer or Monsanto seeds.
Right.
Yeah.
And you won't. In fact, a farmer down in Iowa got busted and they made a point. They buried him in legal fees. He lost his whole farm because he took their seed, went out and, grew his own seed for the next year. And, there ain't a farmer in this world that will do their own corn and soybeans. Eventually, cannabis will get that way. So one of the partners in the company been in the horticulture for 50 years. So in the greenhouses, like if you take somebody's plant and you clone off of it, like you owe them a royalty.
Sure.
And they should get paid for their services.
Yeah.
So I think that's going to change. I think you're going to see a lot of studies and I have clinicals coming out of that. We're preparing for that because the other side of it on the medical side, if you go through those studies, now you can apply for patents, so you can actually have that for a sleep aid and actually have some protection. There's probably look at the other side. Is pharma going to take over? I don't think so, but I think that's a concern that you got. They're going to be in the space regardless, whether it's descheduled or not.
Yes, they are.
So let's look at it that way. If you deschedule, it isn't going to be like farmers going to be like, oh, it's descheduled now. We better not play with that.
Yeah.
Tobacco, alcohol. If you just saw Green Thumb Industry just put out a press release that they're trying to do a merger with Samuel Adams. So now you got cannabis and liquor combining. It's going to happen.
Yeah. I really appreciate this talk because these are things that I'm not necessarily tapped into, and so I'd love to see your perspective from this business side. And like most of the people that I know and that I talk to, and they're small growers, so to hear where you're thinking about it on a larger scale and like all of the implications and like all the different ways you can move through the market and make yourself accessible to people. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things we're trying to do is actually help the small guys. You know, I took a lot of inspiration from Sam Adams because, you know, if you know that story, that beer story, like they were like the big little guy. So when Anheuser-Busch and Coors Miller were trying to buy up all the hops so these little breweries couldn't survive, Sam Adams went out and bought big contracts, and then they would sell to the small breweries and keep them supplied with hops. They'd give loan programs, and they would do things for that. So in our building, we're 800,000 square feet in southern Minnesota, 400,000 sitting empty. The electric bill when it was a printing press was $1.2 million a month. So all the transformers and the switch gears and everything that you need to do a grow are already in place. And I think Minnesota doesn't realize, like, oh, you win a social equity grow, and you can do a 5,000 square foot grow or a cultivator's grow, and you can do 30,000. The time that it takes to get up and going, and the money is unbelievable. So how do you create this euphoric, you know, this building where you got 20 different independent grows there that you can, you know, rent to them at a decent price, like way below market value because we're into the building for a lot cheaper than what it's worth. Have lab on site, have extraction on site. Like you could create this and help get them a head start.
Do you think we're gonna have a big surplus though?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Every
Okay.
state does.
Yeah. Do you think it will be enough to make it horrible and bankrupt the state like it has done in other places, or?
Nothing will be as bad as California because taxes kill California. California has no enforcement. So I think Minnesota so far from the low potency side has stepped up their enforcement game. They got 22 agents. They're going into hemp stores. They're enforcing. They're pulling shut. You know, the news article the other day, they had like $278,000 worth of retail THCA hemp that they confiscated because it doesn't meet, you know, Minnesota law. Mm-hmm. That will help regulate because if you don't do regulations and enforcement, you'll allow the black market, and Minnesota will never win against California if we allow California weed into Minnesota. I went to a 2 million
It's
square.
already here. What do you mean? It's here.
100% it is. So, you know, we got to ask ourselves, you know, how are you going to compete on black market? Because you're not going to spend $40 for an eighth in the store when you can get it from your buddy down the street for $20. So we got to bring the retail
I feel
price
like that's
down.
why there's going to be a surplus. I feel like most of the people that smoke cannabis are just going to go right back to their regular plug.
I agree. Unless you can create products that their plug can't create.
True.
That's why we don't, you know, most of our focus will be on everything past the plant. You know, once we do extract, that's my jam. Like I like extracting. I love to rip the plant apart and put it back together in its pieces because then I can be specific. You know, we've got an inhaler that looks like a asthma inhaler, and it's actually, you know, that technology comes out of the pharma. It's a dry powder, microscopic powder that you inhale, so you don't get any of the benefits, or you know, from smoking or vaping. And then I can also create that formula for you that's specific to you.
Well, you wouldn't have the implication from the fire being put to it,
Correct.
but you would have still the powder going into your lungs.
Which is all dissolvable. So it's all you know, depending on it's licorice base. So it's a dissolvable.
Okay, that's interesting.
There's a lot of
Yeah,
crazy stuff out there that
it would
it's
be
fun.
hard. It seems like it would be hard to dose, though. I guess if you were doing it just like you were using a vape, it would be similar. You would just wait for your medicine to kick in and see how you feel and adjust it from there.
Yeah, it's a specific dose. It hits you, so your lungs are your largest surface area to your bloodstream. That's why you smoke anything to get
Exactly.
high. So that's one of the benefits of it is you get that instant feeling. Even on the emulsion side of things, you know, part of why New Canna's got 5x5 as its logo is it's, you know, it's kind of, the meaning means it's a change is coming. So that's kind of why we picked it for that side of things. And then the other side of it is I want a product that can hit you in 5 minutes and be out of your, be done in 55 minutes. So that's the other side of the 5x5. If you can have a beverage or a gummy hit you in 5 minutes, I think you'll get a lot more consumers coming on board to that form.
Sure.
Interesting.
It's a place to tap into the market for sure. Yeah.
Can I ask a question? I had one question, but so I was kind of new to gummies, love them, but I cannot figure out like consistent dosage at all. Is it possible to make gummies where they're consistent dosage throughout the bag?
Oh, 100%. Like I can guarantee
Why
you.
have I never found one?
Well, so there's a couple things on the edible
Yeah.
side. Like I can prove to you without a shadow of doubt that our first gummy, middle gummy, and last gummy are the same.
Okay.
Because part of our retain process, we have to keep the first, middle, and last. So
Okay.
if we have an issue with a batch, I can see if there was a mixing issue, a homogenization issue. So on an edible one, you're going through your digestive tract.
Right.
What you eat will affect it 100%.
All the variables are in me, you're saying?
Your variables are in you. So if you eat a fatty meal, so I would suggest doing
No can do.
doing a nano gummy that uses water soluble cannabis versus an oil gummy. You know, that's why like if you eat chocolate right before you do cannabis, you're gonna get higher. Because the other side of it is you're converting the delta 9 to 11 hydroxy, which is it binds to your receptor like 3 times. The binding factor is about 3 times more potent.
Okay.
So that's why you get a little bit high. That's a different high and more of a lot, you know, a more intense high typically.
Okay. That's awesome.
I wouldn't necessarily say it's not the gummy. It's just.
We were just on a live stream for when I was streaming
nice.
Your shows, and we were in the chat, and I asked the chat that because there's a bunch of and everyone acts like it's fucking impossible. Like, I mean, they're just like, oh. And I've talked to a whole bunch of people who have that experience, but they're just dummies like me. Like, you know, so we're just
Are there a lot of brands that? So I mean, a lot of brands are they're in a little hot plate. They're stirring it up. They're pouring it on a silicone mold. There's it's called flood pouring, where you're scraping it off. Then you're gonna have some. Like I would never do that because you are gonna have inconsistencies. The weight of the gummy makes a huge difference.
Is there something on the bag to look for to see if it's a more reputable product?
You said it earlier. Just know your supply.
Right.
I think
know your
the brand.
grower. I think there actually is. They have started a group called the Cannabis Guild, I think, and what they're doing is they're gonna put like their stamp of approval on products that they know are vetted and tested and really good for the consumer. They're gonna put like their guild stamp on it so that people know to look for that.
Hopefully they don't get bought off. The hemp side, they had that. A couple different companies tried it. They got to be tied to a lab. Otherwise they don't know. You can submit all the paperwork and like anything else, I can give you my best gummy. I think that it's really crucial that a lab is the one that does that because you got to be able to test and prove. Like one of the things like with the Legacy Cup, with Josh at the Legacy Cup, I was talking to him like, hey, our lab will sponsor this thing and we'll test all your products. Because if you're blind testing people and you're going to give somebody a medal and one of them is a fact, and there's stuff in that gummy or that beverage with 3 times the potency, it's not a fair shake. One of the things that we always dealt with is when the smoke about a year ago when the smoke shops were their gummies and beverages and well, your guys' stuff doesn't sell. It's not strong enough. It's like, well, it's legal. Like I've got stuff that I've tested that comes in at 40 milligrams and it says on the bag 5 milligrams.
Wow. Yeah.
So imagine.
It's a big difference. Yeah. We talked earlier about the testing not being so accurate all the time. So, yeah.
It's the one thing when we had we had OCM tour our facility because when they were looking at, they need to know what assets are sitting in Minnesota. Mm-hmm. Charlene said the thing that keeps her up at night is testing, and it should because it's even in 21 other legal states that's not figured out.
Yeah, it isn't. You're right.
And a lot of under the table. Here's $1,000. Give me my results. Unfortunately.
Well, we gotta raise the standard. We have to raise the standard.
I think it comes with the consumers have to help with that push.
Well, they need to know about it first, that it's important.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that it's something that they should be thinking about and like to look for reputable brands, right?
So you always ask the question, I want to ask it back to you. What do you want to see out of the industry?
That is a great question. Well, I'm a cannabis nurse, so I want to see like nurses doing the education for medical patients. I think that's really important. I think when they're first going into it, especially, like they just need to have some basic stuff that they know where they can go into a dispensary and be like, if someone doesn't have that great education that you might have here and like steer them into the right spot and is just trying to sell them the most expensive product in the dispensary, like, they need to know like, to steer away from that. Exactly.
Yeah, that's wrong.
So I'm really invested in how nurses can play a role in the industry.
So you have the problem.
Yeah.
You have a solution, like you have, but how do you? So what is Minnesota nurses doing to, are they having meetings with the the tribes right now because they're going to have them, and get into the dispensaries and say, hey, we'd really like to have a foothold in here.
I mean, we have been in some talks.
Yeah, good. I mean, it has to happen because I think it's important that, especially, there's the dispensaries. I think the one thing that the hemp has helped on the dispensary side, our last manager came from Colorado. Mm-hmm. It was just, go in and buying a bag of weed or, a vape cart or live resin. Like, that was about as much innovation as you had. And what the hemp industry did is it brought, capital into the marketplace, which helps. You need it. Because in past time, marijuana people didn't, when they're borrowing money, they're borrowing at 15 to 18% interest. And then you have 280E, so you don't get any write-offs. So all that money went to the government instead of innovation. So the hemp side really innovated. Like, you didn't hear about CBD, you didn't hear about CBN, you didn't hear about Delta 8, you didn't hear about CBT, and a lot of the entourage effect. You just really had indica and sativa and hybrid. That's what you had. So I'm hoping, that's what the hemp. Right now our discussions are, how do we get the hemp guys and the cannabis guys to be like, we're cannabis together.
Exactly. Yeah.
Because they're fighting.
Mm-hmm.
We're one child away from going to the hospital and having problems that they could just, the Congress says, we're done, we're shutting this whole thing down and go back to, I don't, think that's an extreme, but.
I think that the people of America would revolt.
I mean, I thought America would revolt when they shut our stores down and made us do social distancing. I mean, never in my worldly dream would I thought that they were going to shut my businesses down. We fought to keep the CBD centers open, during COVID. Like, I had the cops there 2 times and I was like, guys, go pound sand. Like, this isn't, you can't shut me down. I classify under the NICS code as a vitamin shop. I do my taxes under that code. Now it's not convenient for you. Like, no, you guys aren't. And then right across the street, there's a Home Depot and a Menards, and it's packed,
One of the ladies that I was talking to earlier, Sherry Max, said that when COVID hit in California, they stopped the adult rec market.
Yeah.
And you could only source from the medical market, and so they saw all these people, this big influx, people trying to get their medical cards.
Sure. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I never in my dream would have thought that America would allow that to happen, and we did. And Minnesota was one of the worst for shutting down our bars, like shutting them down, opening them up, shutting them down. I got a place in Iowa that we stayed open damn near the whole time. I think it was like a 2-week period, and then after that we opened back up. South Dakota stayed open the whole time.
Yeah. Well, you definitely have a different perspective than I'm used to hearing, and again, I really like to hear those other voices. So I appreciate you really hosting the people that came in and hosting me and being open to opening up this platform and talking about who you are and what you do, and I appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
I appreciate
it's a beautiful relationship for me.
I appreciate you doing everything and bringing it, because there's not enough time in the world for us to, we're so knowledgeable, but we're stuck in our 4 walls, and we need people like you to help tell that story and help us help the industry.
The other piece of it too is, like, I recognize where you are and like what your grow does and like how you're in these other places, not just in the metro, what that does for the community. I always talk about that too, like the Iron Range has been so decimated by the mining going away, and so when cannabis comes to those places, it's really an infusion into the community and really helps revitalize that. So I recognize that piece of it, and I appreciate that piece. I love that you're seed to store. Like, that feels really good to me. I like that. And I appreciate showing what the places in outer Minnesota are doing. I think there's such a big focus all the time on the metro, and I feel like these are communities that are supporting themselves through the use of cannabis too, and I love that. So thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Yeah. I hope the nurses can take a foothold and help steer the dispensaries into the right direction, because
I don't think we have that much pull.
But
we really don't.
You get enough women together, like they can you piss off a soccer mom.
Yeah,
be careful.
You're giving us a lot of credit.
I think you're forgetting how pissed off woman, you better look out. Mom, I always say mama bear, and I think that we have a chance. Like I believe Colorado is a really bad example of dispensaries. There's been no innovation. There's been no you know, it's just, that's after 10 years or going on 11 years now of legalization, this is what you show a dispensary as. Like, come on, guys.
Yeah.
Like, and I hope Minnesota can help. To your point, it's not about that upsell. It's really listening to the client, listening to the person coming in, understanding what their needs are and what benefits they're looking for, and not just assuming that everybody's doing this to get high.
Yeah.
And I think that that's the biggest thing that, coming from my mindset versus, you know, somebody who's been in the cannabis world the whole life, is that, you know, yes, it will get you high.
Yeah.
But not everybody's looking for that either. Eventually they will. Like, some people love the taste of alcohol and have a few cocktails and just, you know, relax and use that social lubricant. You know, I was the guy that just did it to get drunk.
Yeah.
So I can't touch that. But there's a bigger people that just want to have that social lubricant.
You know, and it doesn't. You don't have to get high to experience the benefits of it. So.
That's why we do the nano gummies. Like, the best thing we ever did, because we listened to the customer and said, you know, they need to be able to dose what they want. You know, I hope they, you know, one of the things that packaging drives me crazy, because, you know, on one side, Minnesota, after next year, you can't have a gas-powered lawnmower that's over 25 horse. They all got to be electric. You know, we're going green, we're doing that. Okay. Then they make the cannabis industry do all this packaging, and you can only have 50 milligram of gummies, but you can buy 15 packs of gummies. So now I have 50 milligram of gummies, but you can buy 15 packs of gummies. So now I have all this packaging in plastic that's going into the landfill.
And let's be real, there's no lethal dose of cannabis. So.
Exactly. So it's like, why don't you just say, hey, you can keep it at 5 milligrams for low potency, but you can have 200 milligrams in a jug. So now I can sell you one jar with, you know, 200 milligrams. Cannabis is horrendous for one-time use. Look at the, you know, the throwaway vape pens. I mean, that's all going into landfill. That's how, you know, lithium batteries are in them. I mean, it's not good for our environment from that standpoint. So we got a lot, as an industry, we have to step up on that too.
Yeah, for sure, we do. Yeah, it's part of it.
All right,
guys.
thank you so much.
Thank you for all of your knowledge, Rebecca. You are so. This woman needs a raise right now.
Well, their whole family works for us, so it's like literally.
It's like everyone has been so accommodating, and like Rebecca knows the store inside and out. She knows every product, how it's gonna help you, like, you know, what you need to be mindful about with it. And I just think it's a good idea.
MBC. No relation to NBC.